What's going on, everybody? This is Mike, and this is Serial at Night, episode number 43. It is not night. It is a beautiful Sunday morning in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Going to do a podcast here about the Nintendo Switch before a day of football. But before we get into the Switch, a couple things to get out of the way. First, awesome week on Twitter. A lot of great conversations, so we'll get to those tweets later. We're going to hit on an overview of the Switch, some of my thoughts, some of the games that we saw, third-party support, a lot of stuff around that. Also, if you want to email the show or get a hold of us, youtube.com, twitter.com, facebook.com/RetroGameFix. Otherwise, questions at RetroGameFix.com is the email. Or you can call our voicemail, 678-995-5103. Actually, now that I thought of it, I also want to highlight a couple Extra Life pages. And I have them right here. Go take a look at TJ Lehrman's Extra Life page, thatsportsgamer.com/extralife. Otherwise, from Operation Sports and the Press Row podcast. And Greg Seward doing 24-hour marathon, extra-life.org/participant/Seward. I believe he also has a short URL. I don't have that on hand. And if you have any amount of money to donate, that's always awesome. This happens annually. It's a 24-hour gaming marathon, and proceeds go to support the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. I did it last year. Might have actually been the year before, and it's just been crazy. I don't know. I actually don't think I'll be able to do it this year, but support where you can. I certainly have. So if you have anything, any amount of anything helps. Okay, so let's go. Man, what was it? It was Thursday morning. Nintendo sends out emails Wednesday night that they were going to finally reveal the Nintendo NX, which we were calling at the time, on Thursday morning, and they did. I thought it was actually going to be some sort of stream, and it ended up just being a trailer that they put up, but it turns out most of the rumors were true. So this is going to be a console/hybrid, or a console/mobile hybrid system, much like we had seen through some of the posts on Reddit. In addition to other rumors across the internet, Polygon, Destructoid, I think, had some of them, and fairly accurate, and we got to see that Thursday morning. So essentially, what it is, you're gonna have essentially a tablet or slate, and you can essentially connect and disconnect controllers from the sides of it. I'm sure everybody's seen it already. So when you're playing on your console or you're playing on your TV, that slate is docked into essentially the dock that has, a couple USBs that look like probably an HDMI out to your TV. And the controllers that can attach to either side of that tablet can be detached and attached to another peripheral, essentially creating a larger controller. Now, what that peripheral is there extra battery? Is it is it just a plastic piece to make it more comfortable? I don't know. We don't know that yet. And then, when you don't want to be on your couch, it looks like you can essentially disconnect these controllers from the peripheral, each side, and snap them right into the tablet that's sitting in your dock and pull it up, and you're on your way. And the commercial or the trailer really shows seamless transition, just a little bit of a delay, and boom, now you're on the go. And that's kind of where it started out. So, I mean, it started out with a guy playing Zelda Breath of the Wild on his television. He had enough of that, decides to rip those controllers off, pop them on that tablet, and he's on his way. So far, so good. I'm in. Throughout the rest of the trailer, they show a couple different scenarios on how this can be used. They show someone on a plane with using it with a kickstand and then disconnecting the controllers and using them separately without, one in each hand. They show people playing in the airport, which I assume is trying to show local ad hoc multiplayer. I doubt it's going to have any type of multiplayer through 3G or 4G. That would be a 4G or LTE at this point. But if it does, you have to have a data plan. I'm assuming it's ad hoc multiplayer connectivity, one-to-one or one-to-many. They also showed the controllers being used by two people. So essentially each controller, when undocked, can be used separately, and they're really, really small. But hey, hell, maybe they work. They showed it being used for esports with Splatoon. I mean, they kind of covered all of the bases for how this how this thing can be used, and I'm excited. The first thing that really jumped out to me, I know a lot of people have been making fun of the fact that it was showing a bunch of millennials, I guess, living in apartments that they probably can't afford, playing their Nintendo console. That is kind of funny. But I think the one thing that really jumped out to me with that is the fact that they are marketing their first trailer was marketing this to adults. In the past, you really saw Nintendo going after that kid market. And I found it kind of refreshing to see that they're going after, the adults in this instance. And some of us, have kids maybe that are gaming. Some of us don't have kids. It doesn't matter. I mean, at the end of the day, they're kind of pushing it to people that are going to have some of the money to buy one of these things. And I'm excited about it. The other part that I really like is the fact that, and we'll get to this later in the thoughts in your tweets discussion, but, I don't think it needs to be the super powerful console. We have areas that solve for that. I certainly see advantages, and I'll eat a little bit of crow later, but, again, a new console for new Nintendo games, and, sign me up. I mean, that's where I'm always at with Nintendo whenever these systems come out. You can call me a fanboy. That's fine. I've got all of the North American Wii U releases, and I love the Wii U. So if you want to say I'm a little biased, fine, but, hey, I like great games, and there's a lot of great Nintendo games. And so, speaking of the games, let's talk about those. So we got to see a little bit of Breath of the Wild, running around in a field, hacking some people up, a couple of special things. We saw a lot of that footage before, so nothing crazy there. They also showed Skyrim. Look, Skyrim's a 5-year-old game. It's a great game. But the fact that they're showing Skyrim makes me believe, again, that the console's probably not going to be powered or on par with the modern consoles that are out today. And again, I'm fine with that. They showed NBA. I'm guessing it's a recent NBA 2K game. It sounded like it. That's cool. I don't know how much power it takes to render the NBA games. So that works for me. Then they showed a new 3D Mario. Not a lot of footage there, but just enough to be like, boom, 3D Mario. I love Super Mario 3D World on Wii U, but I'll take another, 3D, like a traditional 3D Mario platformer. Then they showed some Splatoon. And so, I mean, right there, let's just pretend that those 5 games come out at launch. And there's going to be more. I'm in for Zelda. I'm in for Mario. I'm in for Splatoon. And hell, I'd probably pick up Skyrim just to be able to play it, in bed or wherever the hell else I'd play it. I wouldn't probably pick up NBA because I love NBA, but I play that on other consoles. And so, for me, I like the direction that it's going. And Mitch and I will talk about this a little later because we'll podcast tonight on this, on the Retro Jones show, but if I can have a Nintendo console that plays great Nintendo games, that kind of fully realizes what they were trying to do with the Wii U, in that I can take it on the road along with my games and play them wherever, I'm fine with that. And I think there's this, thought that, well, look at it, looks a little big, I can't throw it in my pocket. To be fair, I've never put my 3DS in my pocket either. I've never put my Vita in my pocket either. Usually when I'm traveling, whether it's to work or anywhere I would be in a position where I was going to play games, I generally have a bag with me. And so I'll throw that in my bag. So I don't know if I'm really concerned about its portability and fitting in my pocket. I mean, I guess the only people that are going to be fitting this thing in a damn pocket are if you're wearing, cargo shorts. If you're wearing cargo shorts, stop doing that, because cargo shorts are dumb. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, my overall impressions are really, really good. And so let's get into, and then a couple other things to mention here. So they're still toting March. I think that's going to be dependent on games. I think they can have the hardware ready, but if games aren't ready, that thing's not going in March, and that thing's not launching without Zelda. I'm going to put it that way. So if Zelda gets delayed again, then X is getting delayed again. That's just the way it is. And if Zelda gets, and it's going to be day and date, I think, for Wii U and the Switch. And so if, we'll see where that goes, but they got to make sure this thing comes out of the gate with games to play. That's what really, in my opinion, what's going to drive the sales here. If they come out and say there's a new Zelda and a new 3D Mario at launch, it's going to sell. I mean, it's just going to. And, it's funny because on announcement, investors, I think Nintendo shares dropped 7%. And I don't know, man, I'm excited. I think people are unfairly kind of discounting this thing because it's not a PS4 or Xbox. And I don't think it needs to be. At the end of the day, we have PC, we've got PS4, we've got Xbox. This thing is coming out mid-cycle, essentially. People have places to play third-party games, and that's already established. I'm not really concerned, personally. My scenario, so everyone's scenario is different, but having an Xbox and a PS4, and a PC, I don't really care if my Wii, or my Switch doesn't get, Madden or NBA or Call of Duty or any of those major games. Now, that's not to say that I don't think it needs third-party support. I just don't think it needs traditional third-party support. Now, I'll get to some of the other stuff, the Maddens and the AAAs later in some of the tweets, because I do want to back up on that a little bit. But, for me personally, I don't care. What I want to play are Nintendo games and other... I hesitate to say new experiences, but I still want third-party support, because we saw with the Wii U, even though there was a ton of great Wii U games, in my opinion, there needs to be content coming in from the third parties to fill areas where they don't have releases. And I don't know if that third-party support needs to come in the way of the Maddens of the world or the NBA 2Ks or the Call of Duties, but I do think that the third-party support needs to come in the sense that of almost a handheld, like 3DS. Now, I know they said this thing is a console first, and that's great, but what I personally want to see, and time will tell. Look, I'm not saying don't bring the other AAA titles over. If they can, awesome. If those things can scale up for... the Scorpio or the PS4 Pro, maybe they can downscale them so they work on the Switch. I keep wanting to say NX. Because it is going to be less powerful. It is going to be using a mobile Turga chip from NVIDIA, similar to the Shield. But I want to see if this, let's say this thing comes out of the gate and it sells really well. People are going to want to get their games on it, and if it's easy to port, they're going to move them over there. But in addition to that, I think that the Nintendo gamer and the Nintendo market is slightly different than what you would see on your traditional consoles. And with that, I feel like there is an opportunity to release games that maybe wouldn't do well on the PS4 and Xbox. When you look at the PS4 and Xbox, I can look at my games library. I play a lot of Destiny. I play a lot of Madden. I play a lot of first-person shooters. Like I've alluded to, that's where I play those games. When it comes to Nintendo, though, if they could come up with, more of those original third-party releases, and I should have written some down here, but that aren't necessarily the traditional AAA, but something that you're going to go, okay, here's a game that is maybe going to release on all 3 consoles, but what's going to keep this thing above water is the fact that it's going to sell well on the 4 consoles, but it isn't necessarily a AAA game that's going to go for $10 million. And so that support does still need to be there. But I think it's just those new experiences. And at the end of the day, Nintendo games that are going to drive that system. We've said it, I tweeted it out before, and I went pretty hard on Twitter on that third party thing because, like I said, I saw a lot of negativity about it, and I have the exact opposite response. I can't wait for this thing. I can't give them my money fast enough. Was the fact that third party support, and this has been the thing that people have been talking about forever. The Wii U failed because it didn't have third party support. The GameCube didn't have third party support. The Wii had third party support, but it was all shovelware. The N64 didn't have third party support. The last system really that had it was the Super Nintendo. And we've talked about it before on the Retro Jones podcast, but I mean, Nintendo essentially lost their third-party support when they went to the N64, and RPG makers specifically didn't want to deal with the cartridges because they could make their games bigger on CD, and a lot of people didn't want to pay the manufacturing costs for the cartridges, and Nintendo's kind of antiquated way of using cartridges and charging for those cartridges, I think, really did hinder them with the N64. I think the N64's lack of third-party support probably did hit them. Then you see them move on to the GameCube, and then they use the small CDs, right? Because they're focused on kid hands or whatever. I think that was their excuse, is they wanted the discs to be easily managed by, children. Not a lot of third-party support there, but they did get Resident Evil 4. Now, did that hinder the GameCube? I don't know, maybe. I loved the GameCube. Then the Wii comes along with a ton of third-party support, but it sells like gangbusters. The Wii, though, hit a different market in a way that, the traditional casual gamers, a lot of people like to say the grandma and grandpa's playing Wii bowling. That brought Nintendo back to the forefront. Then we saw the Wii U fail, and it was no third-party support. I think with the Wii U, I don't know if the problem, I think now we were getting into a point where we knew third-party support wasn't coming, even though they tried to tout it. I mean, we knew the system was underpowered, and I don't think Nintendo at that point had any interest in playing in that AAA powerful space. I think their fault was the fact that they tried to say they were going to play in that third-party powerful console space, and they couldn't. I think that's where the disconnect was. The other part of that is the fact that, they couldn't get enough games out fast enough. So yes, they missed on the third-party AAA, but they also missed on the third-party, just general support that they had with the Wii U. But ultimately, this thing came out of the gate with a lot of mixed messaging and confusion around what the hardware actually was. A lot of people thought the Wii U was another peripheral for the Wii because it looked very similar. A lot of people at that point got their fix with the Wii. A lot of traditional gamers bought a Wii and it ended up becoming a paperweight shortly thereafter. So when the Wii U hit, there wasn't a differentiator there that compelled people to buy it other than the hardcore fans that wanted Nintendo games. And so you fast forward now to the Nintendo Switch, the gaming market is bigger than ever. The average gamer is 30. I think it was 30, 32 or something like that, but an adult. And we have a lot of options filling that AAA space. So as a 30-plus-year-old, I'm 34. I'm not going to tell people where to spend their, disposable income, but so let's say the average is 30, 34, whatever. There's a lot of us out there by record-setting sales, right? You look at the PS4 and the Xbox One combined have something like 70 million consoles already in the market. Then you mix in PC, and I don't know how many PC gamers are just hardcore gaming all the time, but well, let's put another. No, I'm 30 million on top of that. I don't know, 40 million maybe. I have no idea. But let's just say a round number, 100 million. So there's your third-party space taken care of. Now, at that age, so this is this console war aspect of it, where it's everyone's always like, what console? I just want one console, the PS4 or the Xbox or the PC or the Switch. It's not illegal to be a fan of more consoles, and it's certainly not illegal to own more than one. Now, I get it. There's a lot of places to spend your money today, and frankly, as adults, everyone has responsibility, right? I get it. But, if it is a hobby, people golf, people listen to headphones, people, repair arcade machines, myself, people have their cars. Owning a second console isn't the end of the world. And ultimately, I feel like the Switch is that perfect companion console for whatever other system you have. And I don't want to use companion in a way to make it feel like it's lesser. I just feel like if you can and will be buying two consoles, I don't feel like, much like the Wii U, what better way? You can get your powerful console and your PC, PS4, Xbox One, and then you can get your great Nintendo games and maybe some other, shorter exclusives here and there on your Nintendo machine. And, and I just haven't felt the need to, with any Nintendo system so far, to have that AAA experience. Now, I've always had multiple consoles, right? First world problems, I get it. But it's always been kind of the console that sits next to my other one. So those are the reasons that I'm still super excited about it. And I think the third party support is being a little heavy handed. Now, having went after that on Twitter a little bit, I had some change of heart on a couple specific tweets. And so let's start with your tweets and, I'll kind of talk them out because there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to kind of reel back a little bit, and I might be a little bit hypocritical here. But so the first couple, actually, I'll just start with what kind of came up first. So when when I was talking third party support, Megadad's blog came up and said the only third party support they need is original games. Ports of AAA games on PS4 and Xbox One don't matter. That's exactly where I'm at. I agree 100%. They do need the third-party support, but I think it's the original games and experiences that maybe you don't find anywhere else. Or, they could be original games that maybe release on all platforms, but those ports of AAA games, I just don't know how much that moves the needle for Nintendo. I mean, in a marketing sense, you can only split market share so much once the segment's been defined, right? And I think PS4 and Xbox, and specifically for console gamers, has really cornered that market. And I don't think throwing another console in the mix mid-cycle that's the same would do anything. Like, look, if this thing could have ports of AAA games mid-cycle, let's look at this thing's going to hit in March. You've got people buying the Xbox One S already. You got some people migrating the PS4 Pro. You've got some people buying the PSVR. And then all of a sudden, this thing's going to hit in March. If it hits in March, now it could be delayed, then you're going to be asking people for more money for the Nintendo NX. How much? I don't know. It's probably going to be $300 at least, I would expect. So I agree. Megdeg's blog, I agree 100% with you. IB Noir tweeted, the appeal is handheld, but most casual gamers use their phones. Can Nintendo get that crowd back? I don't know. Personally, I don't feel like it's the same audience anymore. I feel like the cell phone gamer is probably more along the lines of what we saw with people buying the Wii U. The cell phone gamer is the cell phone gamer. I think what we see here is the console gamer that wants Nintendo games, but they're providing a differentiator in the fact that it is a tablet. It can go on the go. I mean, the key part of any Nintendo release is that, it's going to have Nintendo games. So I'm not sure they need to compete with the cell phone market. I kind of honestly feel like it's a little bit of a different market. And sorry, I left the name off of this one, but someone mentioned if I have to pay full price for 20-year-old titles again, I'm not going to get the Switch at all. Enough is enough. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that too. Nintendo's digital space has been kind of mucked up for a while, and the fact that your games are tied to your console. And so if you buy digital games or remakes, I mean, I suppose you could get the physical versions, but let's say the virtual console games, you get a new console, those things are gone. And that's happened with the Wii and now the Wii U. That's annoying. They need to fix that. Those purchases need to tie to your account, regardless if there's support on the next console or not. That stuff needs to be tied to your account. If they're going to try to resell it again, there needs to be some sort of enhancements. Actually, that's getting old for me as well. But at the end of the day, I end up spending the money again. So that's probably why they keep doing it. But at this point, it's as if they're taking advantage of it a little bit. Excuse me, a little bit. So here's where I'm going to get into. So here's 2 tweets that came in after I was riding my high horse about the third-party support. And there's two solid points here, and one even hits on the AAA support as well. So Jeremias Feliciano, I believe. I hope I pronounced that right. Anyway, he says, I own all the systems and I would play cross-platform game on the Nintendo just for the portability factor alone. That's a solid point. As a console first and where I'm coming from and saying, I just want Nintendo games. I own the other consoles too. He does bring up a fair point. There are games where that portability factor could be a differentiator. And one of those games was mentioned in a follow-up tweet from TJ Larriman. It's about Madden, because I texted him. I said, hey, I'm still playing. I tweeted him and said, hey, I'm still playing Madden this year. Surprise, one of my favorite games of the year, actually, so far. And he said, yeah, it's really good. I hope it comes out on the Switch next year. Which was shortly after me kind of going on my little rants about it not needing third-party support. But I think to those 2 tweets, you have an example where you say, you know what? It would be pretty cool to have Madden on the go. And, we certainly didn't get it on the Vita. You're not going to get it on the 3DS. And so, I'm not going to say, again, if they can get those games on there, awesome, because that would be a differentiator for me. If I could take Madden on the go, or a Call of Duty, stuff like that, I might consider a Nintendo version of it, or a version for the Nintendo Switch. And so, does it move the needle for sales of the hardware? I don't know if it does or not, but if the games are there, there's going to be a market for people to play those. So moving forward, Felonius, I believe. I'd like new ways to play old games, new ways to experience games in general, and old ways to play old games. I forgot what tweet that was in response to, but kind of just what people are feeling. I was like, yeah, you know what? If I don't know about old games, but I want new ways. I want new ways to play all games. I want old ways to play all games. I just want ways to play games, and that's one of the things I've seen a lot of negativity kind of popping up about the Switch because of its lack of power. Potentially, we don't have the specs, but one can only assume. And I just always go back to, I don't need 4 ways to play the same game in the same way. I personally, I don't need it. Now, people may argue it, but I don't need that. And, it's just not for me. Then we'd be getting to the point where eventually I'm going to go, let's look at just my stuff for a minute. And I think this applies. And again, not everybody's going to own all of these, but on PC, I have my PC for games that I go, you know what? I want the best graphics ever right here. And that's how I want to experience this thing. And I also use my PC for a lot of the indie games that don't hit console till later, where I don't actually need a super crazy graphics card, but that's what I use my PC for. And then a lot of open source stuff, things like that. Xbox and PS4 was tough, right? I didn't want to buy both, but I ended up buying both. And I bought both because of the fact that I love racing games. I have my racing rig set up. And Xbox One at the time has been the only place that has consistently released racing games and quality racing games this generation, specifically the Forza and Forza Horizon series, Forza Motorsports and Horizon. And I bought it for that. And that alone. It was cool to now get Gears and Halo and all that other stuff, but it was my Forza box, my racing box. PS4, on the other hand, I bought first, not by a long shot, and that was really what I thought was going to be my primary system, right? Because Sony in the past has always had experiences I can't get anywhere else in their first party support with things like Last of Us and some of the Naughty Dog games and the Ratchet and Clanks and Insomniac and all of these great studios that Sony had. And we found that so far this generation, a lot of that hasn't come to fruition, and PS4 is kind of turned into a third-party box of sorts. I know there's some stuff to be argued there, and I want to get into all the details. And then for me, my Wii U was kind of my Nintendo machine. So moving forward, if the Nintendo NX came or the Nintendo Switch came out, and they said, hey, this is going to be another PS4, and you get Nintendo games, I'd be like, okay, that's cool, but if I'm going to buy this thing, I'm going to get rid of one of my other systems, right? And at that point, for me, it would have probably been the PS4. I just don't know how many times I want to be sliced up for $300-400 plus games. Now there is an argument. If you're only getting one system, it'd be nice to have all the games everywhere. Unfortunately, that's just not the case with anything, right? Now, I wish my Camry was as fast as a Ferrari. It's not, right? If I need to go pick something up, like a big appliance or something, I mean, just last week, I had to go pick up a couple doors. I couldn't fit them through the back trunk, so I needed to borrow a truck from a friend, right? I can't complain about my Camry because it's not a truck, right? And I know it's kind of apples to oranges, and I'm reaching here a little bit, but the point is, they're all in it to make money, and there's differentiators, and unfortunately, you got to weigh what one's going to be best for you. And if Nintendo games outweigh third-party AAA, so be it. And look, a lot of assumptions being made here too. We don't know where all of this is going. But anyway, I post that out, and I said, there's a lot of negativity that I'm seeing, and so I got a lot of good feedback. Ricky Maniac says haters are hating to validate their second PS4 and Xbox One consoles. Yeah, that might be the case. I'm not in that boat. But a lot of people are. I mean, that's the internet, man. You see a lot of arguing about the console wars, right? And it's not illegal to enjoy all the consoles, even if you don't own them all. It's not illegal to be a fan of video games in general. So yeah, there might be, some of that in there. Unfortunately, yeah, there might be. Leisure, so I think there's way more positivity. It's just the vocal minority yells louder. Yeah, I agree there too. I mean, that's probably a lot of it. It's Twitter, it's the internet. Everyone has a voice, but it was funny because it started out with a lot of really good feedback I saw on Thursday and Friday. And as Friday went along, going into Saturday, I'm looking at the internet and starting to see articles pop up and cell phone comparisons, and a lot of people just really, getting, going after Nintendo for releasing what seems like what people are saying is underpowered. And I'm like, I hate that. It is what it is. And Nintendo seemingly has identified a market, and they're going to go after it. Now, how big is that market? I have no idea. Nintendo does. I'm not on the marketing team or the, research team at Nintendo to identify and go into market segmentation and come up with projections. But certainly they feel that this is something that can move the needle for them. Ninja says, I've noticed a lot of it coming from the analysts and those entrenched in a console war that no longer matters. That could be that could be part of it. I don't think the console war matters anymore, but the internet sure likes to argue about it. And I get into it every now and then. It's kind of fun to talk about. I mean, you can certainly have good conversation about which console you prefer, the business side, the analytics side, what's working, how does it appeal, what are they trying to do here? I get that. But it always comes down to, comparing it to what's out there and saying, well, look, it doesn't do all this stuff, instead of saying, well, what does it do? And I, for one, am excited for what it does do. And for me, gives me Nintendo games on the go, as well as being able to dock to the living room, bring it around my house, wherever I might be. I mean, that's a cool idea. And then Run Jump Stomp sent in, how dare you enjoy Pepsi when I clearly enjoy Coke? It is impossible for us to enjoy different beverages. Look, I get that. Okay, I get both sides, and I'm not sure if you're trying to point out to me that how how dare I be offended that other people don't want the Nintendo Switch? Hey, you're right. Look, not everyone has to like it. I will take that. I get that. Hey, if people have an opinion and that's not the console that they want, just like I can voice my opinion about thinking it's right and thinking that the negativity is unwarranted. Yeah, you're right. You know what? People can have that point of view. But in the same breath, I can say, well, I enjoy Pepsi and Coke for different reasons. Depending on, what cocktail I might be drinking, adult beverage on a Friday, Saturday night, I might be mixing Coke in. I don't drink soda that much outside of that, but I don't just drink Coke. If I'm going to have soda as a beverage, I usually do get Pepsi. So I enjoy both, oddly enough, in that analogy. But, getting back to my other points, it's not illegal to own more than one system. Now, if you can justify spending the money on more than one system, that's up to you. And certainly, buying, $4 12 packs of soda is much different than buying multiple consoles. So, So first I want to say thank you. A lot of great conversation on Twitter this week. And I'm really interested to see how this thing plays out. It's fun because the PS4 and Xbox get announced and you see a lot of back and forth of, and that's kind of some of the fun console wars when that stuff comes out. It goes back to Nintendo, Sega, of who's going to buy what. Then this Nintendo Switch gets announced and comes out, mid cycle, if it hits in March. And the conversation's slightly different because you're getting it from all angles. I'm a Nintendo fan. I just want Nintendo games. You get people that say, I love AAA games. I'd play them there if I can take them on the go. If you have people saying, I'm not interested either way because I really enjoy graphics. And this thing's going to not have the power, so I'm going to play my third-party games elsewhere. Look, I feel like every point is valid. And that maybe contradicts, me saying, why all the negativity? Certainly people can have that negativity. I feel like those points are valid. I just feel like, seeing a different system come out, whether it's something you want to buy or not, you can go, man, cool, Nintendo's got something out. Not for me, but Nintendo always makes great games. And so we'll see. Hopefully they can hit March. But we'll see how it all plays out. So anyway, that does it for me. I'm going to go run some errands and then watch the Vikings. But let's just give out the contact information one more time and be sure to also check out those Extra Life. So again, youtube.com, twitter.com, facebook.com/RetroGameFix. Phone is 678-995-5103. Email is questions@RetroGameFix. And if you've got a few dollars here and there sitting around, go to thatsportsgamer.com/extralife or extra-life.org, WAC participants, WAC Seward, Sewart, or Google Greg Seward Extra Life and donate there. And check out those streams on November 5th. And Mitch and I will be podcasting this evening, if you listen to this on Sunday, where we will also discuss the Nintendo Switch. Got some pinball news there. I think I'm going to be starting my MAME restoration finally. And we'll go from there. So until next time, see ya.